Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. My name's Johann Goree and you're watching Ask the Expert, which is a daily show to help small business owners from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. every weekday. We produce Ask the Expert based on your feedback, and so far over 1 million of you have tuned in from the UK to watch. And between the UK and our global syndication, we've managed to help another 3 million small businesses in these some of the most challenging times we've seen in a long while. So I'd like to thank you for helping us gain recognition with The Drum, who awarded us an International Digital Industry Award last Friday. Amazingly, this award takes us up to a tally of 10 wins, and we couldn't have done this without your support. Ask any questions in the comments throughout the show use hashtag QBATE on Twitter. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. There's accountants and business owners on there 24/7 to answer your questions and share experiences. During the live session, we'll also be running a poll, so please do engage with it and I'll reveal the result at the end of the session. So, as I say, my name's Johann Goree and I operate an accounting firm called JGBC. We support clients throughout the UK, but our offices are based in Scotland. So when I was on the show a couple of weeks ago, I started talking about self-sufficiency and standing on your own feet and managing your cash flow, and gave some ideas about how that might be achievable, so you're less reliant on the grants. Then within 2 days of that show, the government announced the furlough extension, part one, which was on the Saturday when Boris announced that it would be extended for the month of November. And a few days later, the Chancellor announced that it will be extended until the end of March and confirmed what details we needed to know for November to January. So that has then had an impact on the advice I gave a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to recap that really, and give you a bit of an update and some case studies that we've been dealing with over the last week with our clients. One of the first things I said a few weeks ago was collaboration with local business communities. There's a lot of fantastic collaboration going on out there between different businesses working together to help provide a better service and a bigger range of products to each other's client base, which has been fantastic to see. And as we go into winter, there's even more of this going on. I've got a lot of clients up in a little village called Dunkeld in Scotland, and they're now working together to put on a Christmas, organised late night shopping for Christmas. This has been done purely on the back of the ingenuity of the business owners, so that they can attract more people into Dunkeld to do their Christmas shopping from the local areas. So this is a great example of community coming together and collaborating to try and increase everyone's trade as much as they can. Another thing we're starting to see is more online business work pivoting. So in the past, I've used an example of Dunkeld Whiskey Box. They have been doing online tastings for family and friends over the last 6 months. So they have opened a website, you've ordered your whiskies, and then they've done a weekend whiskey tasting online once they've shipped out the whiskies to everyone in the group that you want to do it with. Well, they've now pivoted that pivot slightly again to be able to encourage workplaces to hold online Christmas whiskey tasting and gin tastings for online Christmas parties. So if you are traditionally someone that makes a lot of your trade during Christmas because of the build-up of Christmas parties from businesses, I appreciate as a venue you may struggle to put anything online within COVID restrictions, but have a look and see if there's any way, like Dunkeld Whiskey Box, you can pivot your online offering to take advantage of businesses wanting to keep staff morale up. They want to provide that Christmas party atmosphere and experience, but in a COVID safe way. Whether that is involving putting entertainment on Zoom and selling tickets, whether that is involving food tasting, drink tasting, and delivering that food straight up directly to the customer's staff, and then hosting an event online in an evening. Have a look at see if you can pivot your business in the same kind of way. One of the challenges we faced this week is Perthshire has been put in what's called Tier 3 for lockdown in Scotland. So Scotland has tiers 0 to 4. Tier 4 is identical to the lockdown that is happening in England at the moment. So really very strict conditions on hospitality, etc. Non-essential shops can keep trading. Tier 3 is slightly more relaxed. Tier 2 is a lot more relaxed, and so on. So a lot of businesses have been doing very well in Perthshire because they were in Tier 2. But then on Tuesday, it got announced they were going to Tier 3. So what that meant is that they suddenly had to slightly adapt. And all of a sudden, a lot of the trade just dropped off the cliff edge. And as of Tuesday night, their daily income was a lot lower than they were used to. For example, we've seen clients that have gone from £1,500 to £2,000 a day have dropped down to £500 a day, which means it's not profitable for them to run. So what we've been spending a lot of time doing is working out how they can run on a reduced level of service, or if they need to hibernate fully. So the first option we've looked at is running, if you're producing food and drink, for example, that people normally take away and consume. So maybe you're a bakery, and your biggest trade is on a Saturday, for example, because that's when everyone comes in to get their nice breads and stuff for the weekend and the week ahead. What we've looked at doing is, so basically the risks there are high wastage, so a lot of food being wasted, high staff requirement to make all the breads and cakes, and then no sales, creating a lot of waste. So what we've looked at doing now is that bakery will have reduced their trading days to say Friday, Saturday, and they're also doing a pre-order system. And what they've said is we're going to honour all the pre-orders and we'll produce another 10% of products on top of that for sale on the days. And what this has meant is that before they have to start producing things on Thursday, the owner of the business knows how much they're going to sell on Friday, Saturday. So they know how many staff they need in to man the counter on a Friday and Saturday. They also know how many staff they're going to need to produce those products and items, so they can run a minimal staffing level. Everyone else can be on furlough or flexi furlough. And what they can then do is have minimal people on the shop floor. So all their costs are controlled, yet they're still delivering their service and product on a reduced scale. So this has been really helpful for quite a lot of businesses. So look at seeing if you can even if it's a basic telephone pre-order system. It doesn't need to be a flash online website. Just have someone that can answer the phone and take orders, or have emails and process those. Then, if that's not going to work for you, if that's still too expensive, or the demand for the pre-order is just not there, the other option to look at is hibernation. So hibernation is basically closing the business for a period of time. And we've seen quite a few businesses up in Perthshire suddenly do this over the last 2 or 3 days because their sales are so low and the pre-orders aren't generating enough income to justify opening. So what the clients have done is they've looked at their fixed costs, and they've looked at their operating costs, and they've looked at trying to work out whether they can, by hibernating, are they saving money? And then they're just communicating that to their customers. So all staff are on furlough. The business is closed, and they've only got their fixed costs to consider, and that's a lot cheaper sometimes than trying to operate an operational business that's not making enough money to cover both the fixed costs and the operation, which means it's running at a loss. So I'll just go over those points again. Community collaboration, online business ideas, pivoting, ready for the Christmas markets, Christmas parties, etc. There's a lot of online Christmas markets happening for traders at the moment, so try and get involved in those if you can. Then there's what I'm classing as kind of partial hibernation, a reduced trading amount of trading days with reduced trading hours, where people pre-order everything they want, plus a little extra is produced, so that you can do on the day demand. And then if that's cost effective and profitable, fantastic. If not, then look at hibernation and how you can hibernate your business to make sure that it is able to survive the next few weeks while you're in lockdown. So without further ado, let's move on to some questions. So our first question has come in from Rory on Facebook Messenger. Would you advise taking a bounce back loan for contingency? My business is doing okay at the moment, but things might look different in some months. Is there any other strategy you can suggest? Well, so I appreciate a bounce back loan is still a loan. It is the cheapest credit loan that you will probably ever see in your business. So I would strongly suggest that you that you apply for a loan, and even if you just put it in the savings account, leave it there for the next 12 months while it's interest free. And if you've not used it in 12 months' time, give it back to the bank. That way it's not cost you anything. But it gives you that buffer, it gives you that ability to sleep better at night. So yeah, we've advised all our clients to take advantage of the bounce back loan where they feasibly can, so that they can have some cash reserves in the future if things don't improve too quickly. Rory from Instagram DM. Is temporary closure grant applicable only to businesses who have been asked to close? I have a small bakery in Glasgow and I've closed my operation from last Friday. Rory, I've actually been having this very conversation with a client this weekend. On Saturday morning, she rang to say, my business isn't viable at this moment in time. I need to close to maintain my cost levels and to be able to survive. Is the closure grant available? Unfortunately, it's only available to businesses that have got a business rateable value between 0 and whatever the top end is. I can't remember, but it's over 51,000 still gets a grant as well. But it's only available to businesses that have been asked to close by the government. If you've closed because your business isn't trading high enough levels, then it's not available to you. But maybe, Rory, have a think about the example I gave of the bakery earlier. See if there's a busiest day of the week for you. See if there's any interest in your in a pre-order system. As I say, emails, phone calls, text messages. It doesn't have to be a big flash website that you need to launch straight away. Keep it basic, keep it simple. If you know Saturday's your best day, take orders up till Thursday night, bring in the staff on a Friday to produce everything, sell it on the Saturday, and then hibernate for the rest of the week. That would be a top suggestion for you, because no, the business grant isn't available for you at the moment. And Glasgow may go into tier 4, which is a full-blown lockdown, but you're technically an essential shop, so you may not even be able to get the grant then either. So yeah, definitely look at that pre-ordering system and semi-hibernation option rather than the full hibernation that you've opted for so far. We have got a message from Twitter DM. I'm a bit confused how to calculate the wages for 2 of my employees who work part-time. They work 25 to 30 hours per week, but I want to put them on furlough. Okay, so for this one, what you need to do is work out over the last 12 months, or if they've worked for you less than 12 months, you need to work out how long they've worked, for the period they've worked for you, their average amount of hours. So you say they fluctuate between 25 and 30. You need to add all those hours up per month, divide it by the number of months they've either worked for you or up to 12 months, and then see how many hours that works out a month. And that's the amount of hours you base the furlough on. I hope that helps. We have got a message from Marvin from Twitter DM. Can you please explain payment on account? I've only recently started my career as a freelance consultant, and I'm planning my taxes and other expenses for the next 6 months. Okay, Marvin. So a payment on account. This is something that's put in place for people's personal tax returns. And basically, if HMRC see on your tax return that you owe them more than £2,000, HMRC like to predict that whatever you did last year is the same that you're going to do next year or better. They always go with the status quo. So what they'll do is if you go over £2,000 owed in tax in 1 year, they'll say, right, we want next year's first £1,000 paid before the end of the tax year. So that'll be coming due in July. So that's what they call a payment on account. Basically, what they're trying to do, rightly or wrongly, is they're trying to help you budget. Rather than having one huge bill at the end of every January, they're splitting it in two and putting part of the payment in July and part of the payment in January. The main problem with that is when you first go into that system, it takes a lot of people by surprise. The issue we have is if you go from just paying every January to suddenly having to pay January, you've got January and July, and the July one wasn't expected, that one can cause a lot of problems for your cash flow when you first get into the system. If, however, you know you've had a worse trading period this year, you can request HMRC to review that, and you can ask them to, you can give them the provisional figures and they'll reduce the July payment for you. So give HMRC a call and see if they can reduce that payment for you if it's causing you any financial bother. We've got a message from Headley on Instagram stories. Is there any aid available for newly self-employed? Unfortunately, there is nothing at the moment. All self-employed grants are based on the 1819 accounts. There's been a lot of lobbying and pressure on the politicians to review this, but at the moment they just keep coming back saying that there's too much fraud risk going on there. So their concern is too many people will put in a self-assessment tax return for 1920 with inflated figures so that they can get a grant. So they're worried about the fraud of it, meaning there's currently no grants or aid available for newly self-employed at this moment in time. So anyone that's been self-employed since the April 2019, that started in April 2019 or sooner, there's no financial support for you at this moment in time, I'm afraid to say. We have got a message from Wyona from Twitter DM. How will the VAT repayment happen? Will it be credited to the bank account I use for setting up my direct debit? Yes, overall. So if you're VAT registered and you're due a refund from HMRC, they should repay it straight to the bank account that you use your direct debit. They seem to have an issue last month with paying into normal bank accounts, and they sent out some checks to some of our clients at least. So what happens is you get a letter with a check at the bottom, and you just need to take that and put it in the bank yourself. But normally, if you've got a direct debit system set up in time for the VAT return, then it should be paid back into your bank account within a couple of weeks of you filing your VAT return. So I hope that helps. Klaus from Instagram DM. Hi, Johann. I have a doubt regarding the self-employment income support scheme. What kind of proofs are required to show that my business has been affected by coronavirus? Will bank statements work? This is the first time I'm applying for it. So at the moment, it's a tick box. HMRC aren't asking for evidence up front. They may come back to you after this is all over and say, right, can you now prove it to us? And yes, your bank statements would help. What I would suggest, though, is if you're using accounting software like QuickBooks, that will be a really easy way to evidence using their reports that you are struggling, that your trade is down year on year. But ultimately, bank statements would be enough evidence, hopefully, to support that. Unless you're a cash business, such as maybe a taxi where you take a lot of cash, HMRC may want more evidence than just a bank statement in case you're not putting all the money into your bank account. But at the moment, they're not asking for that evidence up front, and there's no word on whether they're going to follow this up in the future or not. So yeah, if you honestly know your business has been affected, then you can claim for your self-employment income support scheme. If you aren't sure, then get someone to have a look at it and tell you whether you can or can't claim. But if you're confident you can evidence it, if they should never come back to you, then do claim that money if you need it. So we've got a message from Adela from Facebook Messenger. Can I work for someone else if I've been furloughed? Do I need any legal document from my current employer to do so? This one's a bit of a minefield. So legally, you can work for another employer while on furlough from someone else. That's absolutely fine. HMRC and the government have no issues with that. However, what you need to do is check your employment contract with your current employer, because a lot of employers ban you from working for other people or yourself if you while you're under their employment. So just make sure you check on that. I saw an employment contract the other day that even banned people from volunteering for charities and groups, etc., whilst under employment by an employer, because they want your focus completely and solely on them. So check your contract of employment. That's the bit that's going to prevent you from working for other people potentially while on furlough. If you're going to start working for another company, it's normally a good idea just to advise your current boss that you're going to do that, and get them to write a letter or an email confirming they're happy for you to do that, so there's no comeback in the future. But yeah, definitely want to check your employment contract, but the government and HMRC have no issue with you being furloughed and working elsewhere. We've got a message from Imran on Twitter DM. I've heard that local authorities have extra funds that they can spend at their discretion. Is this true? Will it help small businesses? How can they apply? So yes, there is a discretionary pot of money for that local authorities have. The complication for me to advise you on this today is that every council is working on it differently. So what one council is doing is very different to what the next one's doing. So you need to talk to your council about it. Pretty much all councils that have got the fund, that are running the fund, will have their rules online on their website, and you'd apply via their website as well. So the discretionary fund is there for people that have got businesses that maybe operate from home or online, then not got the business rateable value properties. So it has helped a lot of small businesses, but it's heavily oversubscribed. So I would get onto it today, get in there as quickly as you can, and find out what your council is using as criteria for that grant. And hopefully that will help. Listen from Instagram DM. Hi, any advice on how employers can plan for the end of the extended furlough scheme? What are the steps needed to get the employees back to work? So because the furlough scheme is now extended to the end of March, this is a real, I could advise you today and then something's going to change tomorrow. It's too fluid a situation to advise fully on this. The logical steps is if you've got people on full furlough, to then bring them back gradually through flexi furlough and then into the workplace full time. But between now and March, we've all seen how quickly the support is changing and stuff. At the end of October, when I last spoke to you all, we were expecting the job support scheme to come in place, the furlough scheme to end, and within 5 hours of that change due, everything changed, and they extended it for a month. And then 2 or 3 days later, they extended it to the end of March. I would work on the information we do have that is reliable, and that is that it's going to continue until the end of March, next year, in some form or another, depending on how the economy is doing, it depends on how much government support there is and how much you need to put in. But for now, just work on that. As we get closer to the end of the furlough scheme, the Ask the Expert program will be able to advise you further closer to the time. We've got a question from Virgil on Facebook Messenger. What is the claim period for the new furlough scheme? I hadn't applied for the old one, so I'm not sure. I was planning to furlough some employees between the 20th and the 15th of December. Can I claim for this period one time, or will it have to be week by week? So Virgil, you can claim for the 20th of November to the 15th of December. That's fine. You won't be able to put the claim in until I think it's 7 working days before the end of the claim period. So you'll need to wait until the end of the first week of December to make that claim. But that's fine. You should be able to claim that. Everyone needs to have been on your payroll that you're going to furlough as of before the 30th of October. And if your employees have been with you longer than a long time, and they were there before the start of March, before the end of March this year, you need to honour those pay rates, not any new pay rates. So probably worth getting hold of your accountant and just confirming everything with them and working with them to flash out that plan and make sure you've got everyone's details right, you've worked out your average hours, your average income, etc., and go from there. Our next question is Outlaws Gaming from YouTube Live. What about if you were self-employed for the last 3 years? Is there help there for us? Outlaws Gaming, yes, there is. If you were self-employed for the last 3 years, you can claim the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme. That's been available since March, and there's been 2, if not, 2. We're about to start the 3rd claim for that already, so you may have missed out on a couple. If you have missed out so far, you've missed out, unfortunately. Those windows are closed. But basically, what they're looking at is the last 3 years worth of accounts. If you've made a profit in those 3 years, on average, by adding it all up and dividing it by 3, they will give you a percentage of that profit as a grant. If you've made a loss for the last 3 years, then there's no financial support for you. If you have been self-employed and employed, and the employment makes up more than 50% of your income versus the profit of your self-employment, then you won't have any support there either, I'm afraid. So again, get in touch with an accountant, work it through with them, and I'm sure they'll be able to advise you clearer once they've got your personal details in front of them. So I think we are running out of time. So one last question is, good morning. I liked what you said about community collaboration. How have your clients gone about it? It's definitely something I'll explore for my own business. Community collaboration has basically been done by chatting to people on the high street, popping into the shops. They've organised the Zoom meetings, they've organised WhatsApp groups, and they're just constantly talking amongst each other. It's nothing big, formal or structured. It's just business owners coming together and working together to help each of them grow and ensure they've got some work over Christmas. So keep it simple. That's the key. Keep it simple. So we've had our poll results in. We asked, have you had to adapt your business for the holiday season? And 33% of you said yes, you have had to. 67% of you said no, you haven't. Now, if the 67 said they haven't, but they're struggling, then it may be worth having a look at those ideas at the start of this session. Collaboration, pre-ordering, and hibernation, and most importantly, pivoting. If you can find a new service as an extension of what you already do, that would be really helpful. And yeah, hopefully, if that means 67% haven't adapted because you don't need to, then fantastic. Hopefully you're set up for a really good winter and you'll be able to benefit from the Christmas period in a way others haven't. So remember, if you've got any questions, then please get in touch with the QuickBooks support team or myself. I'm available at jgbc.co.uk. I'm also on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you need any advice from myself, my team, or the QuickBooks support team, please do get in touch. We're always available to help and answer your questions. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is, I'm really sorry if I butcher this, Sabur Aslam. Sabur is the CEO and award-winning accountancy firm Pearl Accounts in London. He's a serial entrepreneur and an expert on small business growth and productivity. So make sure you tune in to get some helpful advice for your business from him. As a reminder, if you need any more advice, the official QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook is a fantastic place to go. There's absolutely tons of accountants and business experts in there that'll be able to answer your question 24/7. There's also lots of other business owners that will share their experiences and will share their learnings over the last few years and months. So it's a really useful resource for everyone to be part of. So that's the QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Really enjoyed answering your questions this morning. If you've got any more, do please get in touch with myself or the team, and have a great day. Thank you very much.